Morning, guys.
Let's talk a little Fitbit. I love this story because so many people are jumping on this fitness craze with the watches and the Fitbits. You have some information for us.
So there's two different things. New study this week talked about accuracy of the heart rate monitor part of things like Fitbit or Apple Watch or other smartwatches. And, basically found two things. Start with the good news. The good news is resting heart rate was fairly accurate to sort of the things we use in medicine and in hospitals and in medical offices. The bad news is that the accuracy of these devices at exercise, while these folks got on treadmills, diminished significantly, with the Apple Watch being the most accurate, but still having a fair amount of variability, and it goes downhill from there. So the exact heart rate that you're getting from these devices, not exactly accurate, especially while you're exercise or working out.
And so, as a doctor, what's the takeaway? The good, the bad, the ugly?
Oh, well, from a doctor's standpoint, I think we try to promote, and I try to promote physical activity and not necessarily what your heart rate is while you're being active. Now, some trainers push, their folks within their gyms and to work out to, you want to get to a heart rate of this, you don't want to exceed a heart rate of that.
Right.
I've never necessarily prescribed to that. I think that's a personal thing because that gives me too many different things that I'm thinking about and worrying about. And part of physical activity and exercise should be stress relieving and not stress provoking.
Right.
So, in terms of where I'm pushing people to be active. And I don't know if I care what their heart rate is. I want them to be active. I want them, if they're active and they're walking fast or they're jogging and they're doing it with a friend, I don't want them to be carrying on a long conversation.
Right.
So you want you a little shorter breath.
Right. You want them winded and you want them sweating, right? You want to break some sweat. So whether you're at, 120 or 140, it doesn't matter, but you have to be up there.
So, I think the accuracy of these heart rate monitors isn't that big a deal if we follow that context. And I think what they didn't test in this study is a little bit something different, which I've talked about in terms of the steps that it monitors and tracks as well. Those steps might not be incredibly accurate in terms of actually representative of a real step, and the number of miles you walk might not be actually representative, but it probably is relative to you. And so if you wear one and it says, well, you did 11,200 steps a day and you kind of consistently do that week in and week out, that's probably a level of activity. You say, well, I did what I did this week and it was similar to last week. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly accurate, but it gives you a baseline or a relative
What
idea.
You're saying
what you're
is that it's consistently wrong, and that's okay, just as long as it's consistent.
Yeah, it's consistent, but consistent for you.
Right.
So we'll take the wrong out of it. It's consistent for you, and it gives you sort of a relative idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
So all the people who have Fitbit and the other heart rate monitors or whatever, does it kind of, at least can it give them kind of an idea of where they are when they are working out? I mean, it can't be completely off many, many, many points.
It can be off of, the study showed by about 30 beats per minute. So
that's a big,
that could be
huge.
a fair amount. But I think, where the question comes in how you want to use it. Right. So, what really comes into a concept of heart rate while you're being physically active and trying to stay in better shape to avoid coming and seeing me, which is a good goal.
We love you, but we don't like to see you.
We'll hang out here at this desk and not necessarily downstairs in the office. So, you want to you exercise. You want to break a sweat, like McGraw talked about, and you want to keep doing it. You want to keep doing it consistently for a long period of time.
What's a good resting heart rate?
Well, we talked about that a few weeks ago. Remember, and I think that's incredibly dependent on the person and what your physical fitness is and your age. And we mentioned the fact that lower resting heart rates are indicative of the fact that you are, in general, in better cardiovascular shape.
Right.
And so, the SLU basketball team's been practicing now for a couple weeks, and their resting heart rates are likely a lot lower than they were maybe 6 weeks ago. When they were kind of practicing,
so you can see that much change over 6 weeks
well,
if you're.
These are 20-year-old kids.
Okay,
so.
and they're working and they're running all day long.
Yeah, but so in general, what if you want to put ballpark figures on it, resting heart rates in the 90s and 100s certainly aren't. That's not normal.
Right.
Resting heart rates in the 60s and 70s are closer to normal. Exercise heart rates probably in general, again, ballpark figure, don't quote the actual number, don't get stuck on the small change, but exercise heart rates of about 130 to 150 are kind of where you're trying to get to.
What about those stupid things on the
treadmill?
On the treadmills that you hold on to and they
I really
check
do rely on that.
Check your heart rate there.
So tell me what you're relying on when you're working out, you're on the elliptical or the treadmill and you put your hands on there and you say, okay, what's my heart rate? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking for, anywhere between 120 and 140.
Okay. So,
but I hope it's accurate.
So you don't care. But his point is you don't care if it's accurate. You only care that it's consistent.
I know, but I guess, as I continue to exercise, I have a fear of going too far over and then passing out.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. So that was kind of what I was trying to get at. So there's a fear factor here, right? And there's a potential for wanting to use these heart rate monitors saying, well, I don't want to go above a certain rate. Mm-hmm. I think we do need to think about something a little bit differently from that standpoint. We have to have a tremendous reliability on what our body is telling us. And, there is different degrees of this is a terrible workout. You can feel like garbage, but push through it. You can feel like worse than garbage and potentially need to listen to that and say, I need to stop. Mm-hmm. That could be because your heart rate now is like 185 and maybe it shouldn't be. That could be for a whole lot of different reasons. But I think the point is to try to pay attention to what's going on. There's a normal workout burn and bad feeling, and then there's an abnormal workout burn and bad feeling. Pay attention to the abnormal.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily matter that your heart rate, if you felt that bad and those things on the treadmill said your heart rate was 145, you still feel that bad. Mm-hmm. And that's different from the other times that you've exercised. So you should pay attention to that.
Well, that's why, not to tell you how I do it, but Team Charles has you doing the speed and the incline and forget about the heart rate, right? So once you get used to one for a couple weeks, then you raise it up a little bit and you sort of do it that way.
Yeah, so you're working on trying to be active, and work on different measures and different goals to try to get to. Right. I wouldn't worry so much about the heart rate.
That is Dr. Michael Lim. He doesn't worry about his heart rate, but he does worry about his clothes. A dapper dresser,
and he's not wearing the bow tie today, but I like the
no bow tie,
tie,
but still looks good. Dr. Michael Lim, cardiologist with SLU Care and SSM Health SLU Hospital. Thank you, Doctor. Great stuff as always.
Thanks, guys. Great. Have a great day.